CO's daughter, 12, asks why doesn't my mom love me? Janitor's hidden act sparks incredible grace sat on the cold, metal bench outside her school, her backpack strapped to her body like an unwanted burden. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows on the pavement, but her thoughts were darker still. She watched as other kids laughed and chatted, waiting for their parents to pull up and whisk them away to their perfectly curated lives. But where was her mother? Late again. It hurt more than she could say. Why doesn't she just love me more? Grace whispered to herself, feeling small, like a ghost in a world full of vibrant colors. She pulled her knees to her chest, the ache in her heart echoing like the distant sound of school bells ringing. All sorts of emotions battled within her: sadness, anger, confusion. Just last night, her mother had come home after Grace had gone to bed, and their rare conversations felt suspended in a void of silence. It was in that moment of loneliness that Aaron, the school janitor, ambled over, mop in hand. To everyone else, he was merely the invisible worker, a tool for maintaining the bright hallways filled with expectation. But to Grace, he was a quiet force, a comforting presence amidst the chaos. "Hey, kiddo," he said, his voice rough around the edges but soothing enough for her to feel seen. "Waiting for someone?" "Yeah, my mom," she replied, biting her lip, not wanting to reveal how empty she felt inside. Aaron laid his mop aside. "You know, sometimes work takes people away from their loved ones." He paused, his eyes twinkling with warmth. "But that doesn't mean they don't care." The kindness in his words broke something inside her. She found herself sharing her struggles, pouring out the disappointment of feeling like an afterthought. To her surprise, he listened intently, nodding along. "I dream of being an artist," he said, looking wistful. "But life's been tough. Gotta pay the bills first." His eyes sparkled as he spoke about painting, about capturing beauty in chaotic worlds. Grace felt a connection she had never experienced before, a deep empathy blooming between them. This janitor, what did she even know about his life? Yet, here they were, sharing in their dreams and disappointments. As days melted into weeks, Grace felt the spark of friendship blossom. In a world full of affluence, she began to recognize the quiet strength in Aaron's hard work. She watched him with admiration, as he transformed messy classrooms into pristine spaces. In contrast, she felt lost within the walls of her privilege, a gilded cage. Then came the annual school art showcase, a prestigious event where only the best students would shine. Grace felt a surge of determination. If Aaron's art was as beautiful as he described it, it deserved to be seen. She took a leap of faith and asked to showcase his work. As opening night danced closer, excitement bubbled inside her until her classmates' laughter turned sharp. "This? Seriously?" They jeered as they looked at Aaron's heartfelt creations. Grace's face flushed with humiliation, the mockery ringing bitterly in her ears. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The chaos of ridicule swirled around her like a tempest. In a moment of crushing despair, she remembered Aaron's belief in his dreams, the quiet passion he held. But as the laughter echoed, so did her own doubts. She felt crushed, trapped beneath a weight that felt impossibly heavy. That evening, her mother arrived home late, as usual. Grace finally confronted her, tears stinging her eyes. "Why can't you just see me?" she pleaded, her heart racing. "You say you love me, but you're always gone." "Kids will be kids, Grace. You just need to," her mother began, brushing it off. "No, Mom. This is important. Why is chasing money more important than being there for me?" The room fell silent, the tension thick between them. Her mother, for once, paused, the realization dawning in her eyes. Could it be possible that the relentless pursuit of success had blinded her from the most important thing in her life? As Grace stood there, The hope flickered inside her. Would this moment of truth change everything for both of them? Would it bridge the chasm of misunderstanding? Her heart raced at the thought of a new beginning, knowing that a difficult path lay ahead. But it wasn't twisted with despair anymore. It was tangled with possibility. Grace could feel the silence stretch between her and her mother, a heavy blanket of unspoken words. The emotion in the room was palpable. Her mother's face was a canvas of confusion and regret, the brightness dimmed by the weight of reality. Grace, her mother, finally began, but the words hung in the air, uncertain. Just tell me the truth. Grace's voice wavered, balancing on a thread of hope and despair. Do you even want to be here? I do, her mother admitted, her voice softer now, cracking like glass. It's just so hard to manage everything. I thought if I worked hard I could give you a better life. But Mom, I don't want things, Grace protested, her heart pounding in her chest. I want you. Her voice echoed in the quiet room, raw and trembling. The reality that her words might be a plea for both of them hung heavily. Moment by moment, she could see her mom processing, as if shedding layers of her own armor. I'm not a great mom, Grace. I know that I don't want to admit it because it scares me. Her mother's voice trembled. I've sacrificed so much, but I forgot what really matters: spending time with you, being there for you. Tears filled Grace's eyes, a mixture of bitterness and relief flooding her senses. For the first time in what felt like ages, her mother looked vulnerable, unguarded. Maybe this was the crack where their connection could start to mend. Can we try to start over? Grace's voice came out whisper soft. Each word lingered, filled with hope. Will you put your phone down? Just once? Let us do something together? Her mom nodded slowly, the promise forming a fragile bridge across their gap. Okay. Yes. Just tell me what you'd like to do. Before Grace could answer, her phone buzzed, snapping her back to the present. It was a message from Aaron. Hey, how did the showcase go? I was thinking of you. She hesitated and then replied quickly, Not great, but I'm working on it. Grace felt a twist in her stomach. She didn't want to burden him with her problems, yet his support had become a bomb she couldn't ignore. What happened? The reply came almost instantly, brimming with concern. Just some kids being mean. It's fine. She glanced at her mother. That's just how it is. Not everyone understands. I'm sorry, Grace, her mother said softly, reaching out to squeeze her shoulder. I didn't know you were going through this so alone. No, Grace started, the tremor of emotion in her voice clear. It's not just that. It's everything. Nobody understands how important it is to be seen. Her mother's face was illuminated with shame and awareness. I'll do better, I promise. Yet, as Grace looked into her mother's eyes, the flickering hope was joined with the nagging fear of broken promises. Let us both try to be seen, you know? Grace said, the innocence in her tone sharp with realization. In that moment, it felt like a new chapter was about to unfold, both mothers and daughters navigating the complicated maze of love and understanding. Tomorrow, can we go to the park? Grace asked, her voice small but firm. Yes, Grace. I'd like that, her mother replied, a tentative smile breaking through the clouds settling over them. As Grace hugged her mother, she felt a thread of connection binding them, tentative yet precious. But as she released her grip, an unsettling thought crossed her mind, a reminder that change isn't always easy. Would their newfound commitment truly stand against the world outside their own home? With the weight of tomorrow pressing on her, Grace whispered to herself, what if things don't change? The question hung unresolved, heavy with implications, as she felt the first stirrings of doubt creep back into her heart. The morning sun streamed through the window, casting soft patterns across Grace's room. There was an air of expectation, a fragile type of hope hanging in every corner. She lay in bed, feeling the weight of her mother's promise from the night before. What if today was different? What if they finally began to heal? Grace threw off her covers, her heart racing. She rushed to get dressed, choosing her favorite yellow sundress, the one that always made her feel bright and playful. She glanced in the mirror, adjusting her hair as she repeated to herself, Today, I'll be brave. The house was quiet, a stillness that felt unusual, almost serene. Grace padded softly down the hallway, memories of laughter and warmth tugging at her heart. She passed her mother's office, the door slightly ajar. It was hard to believe that this space, filled with work and phone calls, was the same one that had seen countless moments of her childhood. "Mom?" Grace knocked lightly on the door, her stomach fluttering. "Just a minute, honey," her mother's voice called, muffled by the walls. Grace waited, the anticipation building inside her like a bubbling pot. When her mom finally emerged, she wore a bright smile, still a little hesitant, but Grace could see the edges of her excitement surfacing. "Good morning, sweetheart. Ready for our adventure today?" Grace nodded, biting her lip. "Can we go to the park by the lake? I want to feed the ducks." Her mother's smile widened, revealing a glimpse of the old light Grace had missed so much. "Absolutely. Let us make it a picnic, too." As they moved to the kitchen, Grace watched her mom bustle about. The moment felt charged, like a scene that might break at any moment into laughter, but also one that teetered on the brink of uncertainty. "Mom," Grace began carefully as she spread out a checkered blanket on the kitchen table, "do you remember when we used to do this all the time?" "I do," her mom replied softly, the hint of nostalgia in her voice. "Life got complicated. Maybe we can make it simple again," Grace suggested, her eyes sparkling with innocence. "Just us together?" With the basket packed, they headed out into the vivid morning. The park was alive with the hum of kids playing, the scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers wrapping around them. The familiarity of it all felt comforting, but also a little strange, like walking into a dream that had faded from memory. They found a quiet spot by the water. Grace felt her heart flutter with the thrill of peacefulness but also the weight of expectation. What if today is perfect but tomorrow is hard? Her mother seemed to sense the shadow behind her words. "Each day is a new chance, Grace. It won't always be easy, but it will be worth it," she replied, her gaze steadying Grace's wavering spirit. As they settled down on the blanket and shared sandwiches, they began to talk, really talk. Grace learned about her mother's dreams, the pressures she felt, and for the first time, Grace could see her mom as a person, not just a caregiver. But as the ducks waddled close, Grace couldn't shake the memory of the pain that had come before. What if we don't stay in this moment? What if we just go back to being distant? Her mother took a deep breath, the weight of the question settling between them. "Then we promise to keep trying. Because love is worth fighting for, even when it feels distant." They both gazed at the shimmering water, filled with unspoken fears and hopes. And just then, a flurry of flapping wings broke their quiet moment as the ducks took off, honking loudly in a hurried retreat. Grace burst into laughter, but in the laughter was a hint of worry, fading but still present. What if this moment slipped away too? The haunting question lingered like the ripples spreading across the lake's surface. As the sun climbed higher, time moved forward, but would they? Just as Grace opened her mouth to speak again, her phone buzzed with a message that would change everything. "Can we meet?" It was Erin. The weight of everything loomed in the balance, the answer lying in her hands. Would she prioritize her past or her future? Grace stared at her phone, her heart drumming in her chest. Erin's name felt familiar, yet distant, like a shadow from a different life. Memories of summer afternoons spent under the willow tree, laughing and sharing secrets, rushed back to her. But time and distance had altered their connection. "Who's that?" Her mom's voice broke through her thoughts, a touch of curiosity lacing her words. Grace hesitated, the weight of the moment shifting dramatically. Would she tell her about Erin? "He's a friend from school," she finally said, her voice steady even as uncertainty flickered inside her. Her mother looked thoughtful, the smile from earlier fading slightly. "Is he someone you want to see?" Here it was again, the delicate balance between past and present, between what once was and what could be. "Yeah, I mean maybe," Grace replied, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "But we haven't talked in a while. Sometimes those friendships need a little nudge to come back to life." Her mother's tone was warm but full of caution, like a gentle reminder that healing could be complicated, messy. What if it feels wrong? Grace wondered aloud, the picnic basket catching her eye. The thought of Aaron pulled at her, but so did the memory of their last encounter, awkward and strained, both fumbling over things left unsaid. It's okay to feel unsure, her mom reassured, leaning back slightly on the blanket. Just remember, it's your choice. Follow your heart. Grace nodded slowly, torn between the comfort of the present and the lure of reconnecting with the past. With the ducks now settled further away, she could hear parents calling their children, and laughter breaking through the serene air. It reminded her of happier times, of easy smiles and carefree days. Aaron was part of those memories, a reminder of childhood friendships and the simplicity that came with them. Taking a deep breath, she opened the message again. Can we meet? Wanting to keep her mom's south words close, Grace decided to type. Are you free later? A simple question, loaded with everything that needed to be addressed. Good choice. Her mom chirped, smiling brightly again as if charged by Grace's decision. We can make a day of it, right? If things feel too overwhelming, you can always come back to me. That made Grace feel grounded. She replied to Aaron and set her phone down, biting her nails as she considered what this choice might mean. Would they find their way back, or was this a path leading to old scars? Do you ever wonder why we drift apart from people we love? Grace asked suddenly, unable to suppress the thought that had bubbled to the surface. Her mom seemed to ponder it, her gaze drifting over the shimmering lake. It's part of growing up, I think. We grow, change, sometimes it feels like no one notices or cares. But love will always be there underneath. Grace felt a knot tighten in her chest. Could love truly bridge those gaps? While they spoke, the sun warmed their backs, and just then, her phone buzzed again. Aaron's response appeared on the screen. I'll be at the cafe in an hour. The weight of the moment settled back in. I have to go to meet him. Her mom nodded, her expression a mix of encouragement and concern. Just remember that whatever happens, I'm here. Grace's heart swelled but also tightened. She gathered her things, emotions swirling like autumn leaves caught in the wind. As the ducks quacked softly in the background, Grace wondered what awaited her. A new chapter was unfolding, but would it bring heartache or healing? With a final look at her mom's hopeful smile, Grace turned toward the path leading to the cafe, her heart racing with anticipation. The world felt alive with possibility, but she couldn't shake the question burning in her mind. What if meeting Aaron brought back more than just the memories? What if she couldn't handle what lay ahead? As Grace walked toward the cafe, each step felt heavier than the last. The sounds of children playing, the distant laughter, and the cheerful chirp of birds hung in the air, but they barely registered. Her thoughts were consumed with the complexities of her emotions. What if things didn't go as she hoped? What if Aaron was no longer that carefree boy under the willow tree? She glanced at her phone, the screen reflecting her anxious expression. It felt surreal that just hours ago, life flowed like a calm river. Now, it felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. The cafe was nestled between brick buildings, its charming outdoor cafe tables set up under colorful umbrellas. As she approached, she caught sight of him through the glass window. Aaron sat alone at a small table, his back facing her, a steaming cup in front of him. The view revealed familiar curls, now longer and tousled, hinting at the boy he was turning into. Just then, he turned slightly, revealing a side profile she recognized. Suddenly, a wave of memories crashed over her, the sunlit afternoons, shared laughter, whispered secrets. But intertwined with those were the bittersweet strains of their friendship's end. Grace took a deep breath, steeling herself. She needed to face whatever had faded between them. Pushing open the door, she was greeted by the warm smell of coffee and baked goods. The familiar jingle of the little bell above the door seemed to announce her arrival, drawing Aaron's attention. He turned fully, and their eyes locked. For a brief moment, the world around them blurred, and it felt like they were the only two people in existence. Grace, he smiled, a mixture of surprise and happiness in his expression. It made her heart flutter. Hey, Aaron. Her voice felt shaky, almost drowned out by the captivating vibe in the cafe. How was it that just looking at him could unleash a surge of emotions? He gestured towards the empty chair across from him. You made it. I wasn't sure if you would. I almost didn't. She sat down, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. Memories battled with uncertainty, and she couldn't help but wonder what he was thinking. I got your text, Aaron said, taking a sip from his cup. It feels like ages since we last talked. Yeah, it has. A soft, awkward silence stretched between them. Grace could feel vulnerability creeping in, licking at the edges of her heart. How have you been? He asked, his voice gentle but probing, as if he could sense the storm of thoughts swirling inside her. Honestly? I've been trying to figure things out. She searched for his eyes, hoping to find understanding there. Instead, she caught a fleeting shadow across his face, and her heart sank. What do you mean? His brow furrowed slightly, concern lining his features. It felt like the walls between them were already starting to crack, but could they really rebuild what was lost? I don't know, it's just complicated. We used to be really close, and then she trailed off, the weight of unspoken truths hanging in the air. He nodded slowly, as if he understood more than she realized. I get it. I think about those times sometimes, too. Each word felt like an echo, reverberating in the small space they occupied but layered with unvoiced emotions. Grace's chest tightened. Maybe this was a sign. Maybe they could talk about everything they left unsaid. But what if they uncovered things that were meant to stay buried? A part of her wanted to dive into all the feelings and the history between them, fresh wounds and healing scars talking. Yet, in this bright cafe, surrounded by laughing patrons, the fear of stepping into that abyss loomed large. The server approached their table, breaking the spell momentarily. Grace ordered a latte, trying to shake off the apprehension weighing down her heart. Just then, she spotted a family at a nearby table, a little girl laughing at something her father said, her mother beaming with pride. Suddenly it felt all too real. Grace? Aaron's voice broke through, pulling her back. What do you really want from this? From us? Her breath caught. This was it. This was the moment she had been dreading and yearning for at the same time. Could she find the words to express the jumble of feelings? She knew this moment needed honesty, and as she met Aaron's gaze, the question she had been avoiding hung heavy in the air. What did she want from him? Before she could respond, the cafe bell jingled again. A figure stepped inside, and her heart stopped. It was someone she never expected to see again, and suddenly, everything felt even more complicated. The figure walked in, and for a moment, everything faded away. All those feelings Grace had been grappling with suddenly paled in comparison to the shock of seeing her. Sarah, the name slipped from her lips like a prayer. It was hard to believe that the girl who used to run around the playground, carefree and bright as a summer day, was standing in front of her now older, taller, changed. Sarah looked just as surprised, her eyes widening as they met Grace's. The years had shaped her, but with her familiar messy ponytail and the spark of mischief still dancing in her gaze, she was still the same at heart. What was she doing here? The cafe wasn't a place she would typically come. Grace's heart raced, torn between embracing her childhood friend and the messiness of the present. Couldn't they just have this moment without complications? Aaron? Sarah's voice was louder than the cafe's ambient sounds, bringing attention to their table. She turned towards him, a grin breaking across her face. Is that really you? Aaron, too stunned, nodded slowly. Yeah, it's been a minute, hasn't it? With the carefree ease of their past friendship, Sarah rushed over. She pulled him into a hug before plopping down at Grace's table without waiting for an invitation. The tension hanging between Grace and Aaron transformed, but not quite into comfort. Now there were layers, memories of friendship mixed with the awkwardness of unaddressed emotions. Wow, it's so weird to see you both here. Sarah looked between them, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. You guys seem different, in a good way though. What have you been up to? Grace glanced at Aaron, the anxiety stirring in her stomach. What if they couldn't have the conversation she needed to have, now that Sarah was here? Just catching up, hurriedly said Aaron, a smile plastered on his face. He looked like he was struggling against a wave of nostalgia. You know, old times, old times. That's all she wanted to discuss because everything had changed. Old times, for sure, Sarah said, her laughter infectious. Remember that time we all built a fort in Grace's backyard? I think we seriously thought we were gonna take on the world in there. At that moment, the cafe felt a little warmer, the laughter just a little bit brighter. Grace remembered, the fort a symbol of summers that felt timeless, almost innocent. Yeah, and I think we discovered a whole stash of ladybugs in the flower garden, Grace chimed in, her heart softening. Laughter erupted, breaking the tension as they fell into shared memories. But in the quiet moments between the stories, her mind was still racing. Questions pulsed through her. Was this a blessing or a curse? What if Sarah being here kept Aaron from saying what needed to be said? Grace, Aaron interrupted her thoughts, noticing the way she clutched her hands tightly. Are you okay? You seem a bit distant. She inhaled deeply, the cafe around them bustling as she tried to form her thoughts. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a lot on my mind. Sarah leaned in, her expression curious, sparkling with a youthful innocence. You know you can always talk to me, right? I miss you guys. The sincerity in Sarah's gaze felt like a lifeline, yet also a reminder of the delicate web of emotions they all shared. Grace wanted to pull the thread and see where it led, but she was terrified of unraveling everything. I really appreciate that, Grace said softly, glancing at Aaron. Maybe we really should talk. Before she could consider her next words, the cafe bell jingled again. This time, it was just another patron stepping in, but an unexpected presence that would throw them all off balance. An older woman stepped in, eyes scanning the room until they landed on Grace. Something dark shifted within her chest. Grace felt a chill run through her, as though the air had suddenly thickened. As the woman approached, determination etched onto her face. Grace held her breath. This was it. Whatever was coming next would change everything again. Grace, we need to talk. The moment hung in the air, heavy and taut. Grace's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears as she stared at the woman approaching. It was her mother, but not the version she remembered, the carefree woman chasing sunsets and finding joy in the small things. This version radiated expectation and disappointment, a stark reminder of the complexities entwined in their relationship. Mom, Grace managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The word tasted strange on her tongue, thick with years of unsaid things. Grace, please, her mother said, urgency threading through her voice. I know this isn't the place, but we need to talk. It can't wait. Aaron shifted uncomfortably, and Sarah's eyes darted between them, confusion knitting her brow. Grace tried to gauge the reactions of the two people sitting across from her, but all she could focus on was the woman who had once seemed like a protector, now just an echo of strained relationships. Is everything okay? Sarah asked, her voice laced with genuine concern. Grace forced a smile, the effort feeling like lifting a weight. We'll be fine. Just a family thing, she said, trying to dismiss the growing sense of dread settling in the pit of her stomach. Family thing? Her mother snapped, her patience thinning. This is about you and your future, Grace. This isn't just a discussion over coffee. The urgency in her voice cut through the cafe's noise, stirring quiet whispers among the other patrons. Grace felt heat rise in her cheeks, wishing she could disappear into the cracks of the wooden floor. Why now? Grace asked, her voice cracking as she grappled with years of pent-up emotions. Why here? It's important. Her mother's eyes softened for a brief second, but it was fleeting, replaced by the wall of anxiety she had built over the years. Can we take a breath? Aaron interjected, his usual calm demeanor bubbling to the surface as he leaned closer to Grace. Maybe just step outside? He was trying to be supportive, and Grace appreciated it more than words could say. But she didn't want to escape, she needed to confront this. No, Grace shook her head, feeling a mix of defiance and fear. I want to hear what you have to say it here. Silence blanketed the table. Sarah looked at Grace, her eyes wide, trying to understand the weight of the moment. Aaron's concern was palpable, yet he remained silent, holding on to Grace's hand, which was now clammy and cold, Her mother's face twisted in an array of emotions, fear competing with resolve. You don't understand, Grace. There are things you've been shielded from. Decisions I made that affect your life. We really need to discuss your father's situation. At the mention of her father, anger flared within Grace. What about him? She shot back, every word tinged with memory and abandonment. You think I don't know? Grace, that's not what her mother started. But the fractured look in Grace's eyes silenced her. The cafe around them faded into the background. In that moment, it was just the three of them, caught in the whirlwind of history, tension, and unsaid words. Look, we're supposed to be happy to see each other, Sarah said gently, breaking the stifling silence. But this feels heavy. She was right. It felt like an anvil resting on them, nerves fraying. Grace understood the stakes. She knew her mother was offering what felt like a lifeline wrapped in fear, but she wasn't sure she was ready to grasp it. Tell me the truth, Grace demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The whole truth. As the words left her mouth, she sensed an unspoken agreement with both Aaron and Sarah, a collective breath held tight. Whatever was about to unfold would be more than just a discussion over coffee. It was the beginning of a confrontation that had been years in the making. And as her mother opened her mouth to speak, Grace felt a heartbeat of anticipation. This could change everything. But what would the cost be? Grace, her mother started again, but what followed remained a mystery, hanging in the air just out of reach. The moment felt stretched, like a taut rubber band ready to snap. Grace's mind whirled as her mother's lips moved, but the words were lost in a haze of anxiety. She could almost hear her heart pounding against her ribcage, drowning out everything beyond this pressing knot of unresolved pain. Your father, her mother breathed, glancing around as though the world might eavesdrop. He is not who you think he is. Grace's breath hitched. Could there possibly be more layers to her father's absence? She had grown up believing her father's decision to leave was final, calculating, without room for redemption or explanation. But now, the way her mother's eyes flickered with something like regret, made her question everything. What do you mean? Grace pushed, feeling a rush of adrenaline. She wanted answers, and the thought of hiding any longer made her skin crawl. He had reasons, Grace. I had to protect you from the truth, her mother uttered, her voice trembling. She shifted uncomfortably like the weight of unacknowledged history was slumping her shoulders. The decisions I made were meant to shield you from the chaos. I'm sorry. A hot rush filled Grace's chest. You think lying to me was protecting me? She couldn't hold back the hurt, slicing through her words. The air felt thick and strained as surrounding tables seemed to shrink away, leaving just this knot of tensions hanging on their own. Sarah squeezed Grace's hand, and Aaron leaned in close, casting her mother a wary glance. The cafe buzzed around them, ice clinked in glasses, laughter erupted from a nearby table, all of it mundane amidst this storm. Yes. I thought, her mother exclaimed, the edges of her voice sharp. I thought if you didn't know, you could live your life without the weight of his mistakes. Mistakes? Grace clenched her jaw. But I'm already living with the weight. She gasped, realization crashing down like a wave. I'm living with the weight of being abandoned. You think protecting me kept me safe? It only made me feel alone. Her mother's expression faltered, and for a moment, the facade slipped just enough for Grace to see the pain her mother hid behind her sharpness. Grace, please, her mother's voice wavered. You have to understand. No. You don't get to ask me to understand, not after all these years. Grace shot back, tears prickling at her eyelids. More than anything, she wanted understanding to pour in, but was met instead with confusion and anger. It twisted in her stomach until she felt nauseous. I'm not the little girl who needed you to protect her, she went on, her words gaining momentum. I need a mother who is real, who doesn't speak in secrets. Who tells me why I've lived this life without a father. If you love me, tell me the truth. The silence that followed swallowed them whole. Grace sat back, breathless, as her mother's face crumpled, tears pooling in her eyes. The cafe noises returned to blur around them, but it felt distant, muffled by the weight of their conversation. Okay, Her mother breathed, voice shaky but stronger. You deserve to know. Just as the first few words began to form, a loud crash echoed from across the room. A waiter had dropped a tray, and startled voices erupted into the air, breaking the heavy tension for a moment, but the urgency of their talk loomed like a specter over the crowd. Mom, Grace urged, feeling the intensity of the moment shift. Don't let this interruption be an excuse. I want tea, her mother said, her resolve seemingly renewed, creating a bridge through the rawness. I promise you, I'll tell you everything. What followed could reshape everything Grace thought she knew. Just the thought sent a shiver down her spine, a mix of fear and an unexpected longing for truth. But just as her mother hesitated, a flicker of fear crossed her face. But you might not like what you hear, Grace. The words hung in the air, heavy yet inviting, laden with unspoken realities. Grace felt trapped between the yearning for understanding and the dread of what that truth might unleash. Would this conversation bind them together or unravel everything? The stakes had never felt higher. Grace leaned across the table, her heart racing faster with each passing moment. She couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was teetering on the edge, just waiting for the right push to tumble into the light. Her mother's silence felt like a tangible barrier, and Grace was desperate to break through it. Mom, please, she urged, her voice softer now, almost pleading. What are you hiding? Why was he really gone? I need to know. Her mother closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if bracing herself against the onslaught of memories. Grace watched, holding her breath. The trembling of her mother's lips betrayed a struggle. Each word appeared to be a battle, a release from chains that had held them captive for far too long. With a shaky inhale, her mother finally spoke. It's complicated. Your father, he was involved in things that the world can never know. Things that put us all at risk. The tremor in her voice deepened, painting a picture of fear that somehow felt more genuine than any she had shared before. What kind of things? Grace demanded, feeling the weight of each word as it dropped like stones into the abyss of their conversation. What could possibly justify leaving me? Her mother's gaze shifted to the floor, and for a moment, the ache in the air was palpable. He made choices that I couldn't condone, ones that put your safety above everything else. This time, Grace could see the tears escaping her mother's eyes, shining, and refracting the light in a way that twisted her heart. Choices like what? Grace pressed. Did he leave for someone else? Did he not want me? Each question felt like a cut, leaving wounds that had never fully healed. Grace, he loved you. He loved you so much that he believed it was best to disappear, to save you from the danger he brought to our door. Her mother's voice wavered, the truth spilling out like a deluge. He thought, if he stayed, it would only bring you sorrow. He thought leaving would protect you. A strong wave of confusion washed over Grace. Love? How could abandoning her be an act of love? But you lied to me. You made it sound like he just didn't care. The hurt surged, bubbling up to the surface as her voice cracked. I didn't know how to tell you the truth. I thought he was protecting us both, her mother admitted, tears now streaming down her cheeks like rivers of regret. I was scared, and a sudden noise shattered the tension. A couple nearby gasped as their toddler dropped a glass, the sound slicing through the air. Grace looked up, startled. People glanced at one another, sharing mutual moments of concern, but their worlds spiraled in a different direction. Mom, she said, refocusing, her heart still racing. You can't brush me off. If there's more, I deserve to know it all. I know. And you will, her mother whispered, each word more resolved than the last. But you have to promise me something. Once you hear everything, you'll listen with an open heart. Grace felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Could she really promise that? Could she hold on to her love for this woman while wrestling with the truth of her father's choices? And just like that, her mother leaned in closer, the air around them thick with anticipation. He was involved with people you wouldn't understand. Dangerous people, and we had to run. She hesitated, a shadow crossing her face. But there's something you might not expect, something I didn't want to reveal. Grace's pulse quickened, the world beyond them fading as her mother's words hung in the air, heavy with implications. What is it? Just tell me. But her mother's gaze turned distant, her brows knitting together in uncertainty, as if the battle fought within her was far from over. Your father, he didn't just leave, Grace. He was taken from us. And the reason might lead you down a path you never thought you'd have to travel. As the weight of her mother's revelation settled over them, Grace could feel the ground shifting beneath her. Her life was about to change forever. What awaited her on this new path? The cafe felt like a universe unto itself, each moment stretching out like the vastness outside. Grace's heart was a battlefield. Confusion and anger crashed against the waves of love she still felt for her mother. She could see the fear and sadness etched into her mom's face, layers of pain that mirrored her own tumultuous emotions. Taken? Grace echoed, almost breathless. What do you mean? Her mother took a trembling breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. When he got involved with those people, it wasn't just about leaving. He was forced into a situation that he couldn't escape. They wanted something from him, and by the time I realized how deep it went, it was too late. They were coming for us, coming for you. I had to make a choice, Grace. I wanted to protect you so badly. Grace felt the ground shift beneath her feet. What situation? Who were these people? She pressed, desperation lacing her tone. Each word felt like a step into unknown territory. But her mother hesitated, the knot of memories threatening to trap her once more. They were part of something bigger. Think of underground syndicates. Your dad tried to quit, but they didn't take no for an answer. They threatened everything, Grace, and I couldn't let you get hurt. So I took you away. I thought he could still find a way to keep us safe. The weight of this revelation washed over Grace, crashing into her heart like a tidal wave. So you just thought hiding the truth was best? I never got to know him. I never even had a chance. All I knew was that he didn't want me. I know. Her mother's voice broke, raw from the weight of unexpressed emotions. All I wanted was for you to feel safe. I thought if he stayed away, you could live a normal life, free from the chaos he brought. But I see now how wrong I was. I didn't know how to tell you, how to reconcile that truth with my desire to keep you. For a moment, the air filled with the sound of shifting chairs and muffled voices from nearby tables. But it was as if Grace and her mother were encased in a bubble. Time and space evaporated, leaving just them, tangled in the truths and regrets that had haunted their years apart. Do you really think I could just forget? Grace asked, the accusation heavy, but also filled with hope. Her heart began to race, each revelation lifting the dust of past hurt. I want to understand. Can we not go through this pain together? Her mother's gaze softened, vulnerability creeping back into her features. I've never meant for you to feel alone, Grace. And I'm sorry for what I chose. But we can start anew, with this truth, if you'll let me share it all. Grace nodded slowly, the emotion feeling like a floodgate about to burst. Okay. I need to know what really happened. Her mother's tears fell freely now, an avalanche of emotions pouring forth. He has not gone, not truly. He has been trying to find us. As the years passed, I thought the threats passed with time, but they didn't. I thought keeping him a secret would make you safe. I was wrong. I want to see him, Grace said suddenly, surprising herself with the intensity of her desire. I need to know him, know why he left. Why I'm living with the aftermath of shadows. Her mother's eyes widened, an intricate dance of fear, hope, and love playing across her features. Are you sure, Grace? Yes. Nothing can be worse than living in this fog of lies, Grace replied, her voice unsteady but firm. But first, it's you and me. We've got to face everything together. With a solemn nod, her mother extended her hand, and Grace took it, the warmth of their bond comforting yet still tinged with uncertainty. Just then, the cafe bell chimed, and they turned to see Sarah watching them, her expression soft with compassion. Hey, it's okay to take your time. We'll figure this out together, she said gently, moving back towards their table, where Aaron was waiting, steadfast and supportive. With a deep breath, Grace allowed herself to smile, the first real smile in what felt like years. The path ahead was daunting, layered with open-ended questions and suppressed feelings, but somehow it felt lighter. A shift had occurred. Hope blossomed like the first signs of spring after a long winter. As they shared the weight of their truths, Grace could finally feel the warmth of possibility pushing through the cracks of their past. Hand in hand, they would step into whatever the future held, ready to confront it with open hearts. In that bustling cafe, it felt more than just families and friends gathering. It was the beginning of healing, the reconnection of years severed by silence. The hum of life surged around them, igniting the realization that while the road ahead would be unsteady, it was a shared journey, a journey that embraced the hope of second chances. So now, before this moment fades away, I need you all to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. We've got so much more coming your way. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It seriously makes a huge difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let us hear your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Real fans know just how vital your support is. Let us keep this incredible journey going together.